Three, two, one.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone-stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Grok Talk.
All right, welcome back to Grok Talk, and I am Steve McDonald here with Mike Rogers. We have other people who are hanging out in the studio to give a listen, but the reason we're here for this segment is to talk to Mr. James Simpson, who's recently written a book called Red Green Access. Red Green Axis, not Access. I had a chance to meet him a couple days ago and find out about this book, but it's about refugee resettlement and the effort to erase America. Jim, good morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
Oh, very well, thanks.
Are you in Maine by
glad
chance?
to be here.
Are you
Yes,
in?
I am.
Okay, I knew you said you were heading up to Lewiston and to talk about what we talked about. I don't want to get into that too much detail. You've penned a nice little short book on a topic that most people are really unaware of, Red Green Axis, and I haven't finished reading it yet. But, you know, I told you when we were at our little meeting when you were talking about it, and I posted the video of your PowerPoint about the book online, that this is one of the scariest under-the-radar things that I think I've encountered in my however many years of blogging that I've been involved. So why don't you give us a little preface of the idea of what the problem is?
All right. Well, the red-green axis refers, of course, to the hard left, and green, people think of environmentalism, but we're talking about the green of the Muslim flag. So we're talking about the axis between the American left and their Muslim allies around the world. And as if you've been paying attention, it's an odd, strange thing that the left has found common cause with Islamic radicals who, murdered, who consider being gay a murdering offense, who suppress women, and they on the surface they appear to be dead set against every single thing that the left claims to believe in, and yet the left and the Islamic radicals work together. And just recently, the Southern Poverty Law Center, for example, Mark Potok of the Southern Poverty Law Center, identified 12 prominent women who have the temerity to be opposed to Sharia law in the United States. And it seems almost incomprehensible that a hard left organization like the Southern Poverty Law Center would be defending the Sharia law, which makes women second class and demands all kinds of outrageous civil rights violations just as a part of their operating law. So what's going on there?
Well, let's give people some background. This started as a UN program many years ago, and basically what we're talking about here is immigration policy and refugee resettlement policy being used to bring in, and most recently, as James was referring to, Syrians, Iraqis, people from Muslim countries that claim to hate us or have factions that hate us, and resettling them in cities and towns all over the country. Now, if you read the book, there are a couple things that are startling. First of all, the numbers. But I think what people probably really want to know about is the amount of money that's being used by the government and the groups that are unaccountable. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the people think of the refugee program and the asylum program as specifically for people who are basically fleeing for their lives from war or oppression in other countries. And in some cases, that's true. But the immigration, the refugee agenda in the United States, or basically for the Western world, was planned back in the 1970s by the United Nations at the UN Conference of Human Settlements in Vancouver, Canada. And that laid the groundwork for what we're seeing today. And their universal goals included things like abolishing private property, and this is an important one, seeking equitable distribution of not merely income, but land, resources, and populations. In other words, the UN thinks of socialism and redistribution as not merely applying to everybody having equal levels of income, but it applies to redistributing populations around the world, populations that have unfairly been found in, inhospitable places to live like Somalia or Iraq, and resettling them back in the nice green pastures of the United States. And so this agenda has been going on for a while, but it's only it's reached a fever pitch in the past few years. We have a cap of 70,000 refugees a year right now. We also bring in, however, about 25,000 asylum seekers, and we have a new program that allows the families of these asylum seekers to come along. It's called Follow to Join. That's another 13,000. We have a special program for Iraqis and Afghanistanis, and that's called Special Immigrant Visa, and in 2014, that's 10,000 people. We have something called the Diversity Visa, where people from all over the world throw in their names in a lottery, and we get 50,000 people a year from third world countries, Africa and Asia, all over the place. And then another one that nobody knows about called the Cuban Haitian Entrant Program, which brings in another 20,000 people a year. So we're looking really at about 175,000 people a year from countries that in many cases are not at all friendly to us. We are currently importing about 140,000 people from Muslim countries every year, and we are importing about 160,000 people through various programs, not merely the refugee program, from communist countries every year. Most people don't know that. We allow in 1 million legal permanent residents every year. Our entire immigration system is out of control, not merely the illegal immigration. Everything is out of control. And it's following this agenda.
Yeah, I mean, we need the right kind of immigrants. We need people that are willing to come here, work hard, pay taxes, and assimilate and become Americans. And,
Sure.
I challenge anybody to be more pro-America and its Constitution than I am, with the possible exception of the fact that I'm going to be celebrating Magna Carta this week because that's what it's all based on. However, we're bringing in people that don't assimilate, and that's a problem.
Well, that's it, and Jim has some stories about these, and it's one of the reasons he's up here, to meet with people, with landlords who have had to take in people from foreign countries who have no idea what plumbing is, who start cook fires in the middle of their living rooms. And in one story you said somebody had converted their cupboards into chicken coops. I mean, they're not only do they not understand our culture, but nobody's helping them understand their culture, despite the fact that these aid groups that are bringing these people in, and I want you to talk about this next, please, Jim, are getting millions, even billions of dollars a year to bring these people here.
Well, I mean, if I was said landlord, I'd throw their ass on the street, call the police and charge them, and then let the government come after me and say, you can't do that. And I say, what the hell, I can't do that? You would charge me if I allowed anybody else to carry out these practices in my buildings.
Well, you'll be surprised. Maybe we'll get to that. But let's talk about the groups and the money that are, and they're unaccountable, right?
They are very unaccountable. There are 9 voluntary agencies, they're called, VOLAGs in short, and they have virtually a free hand in deciding who gets resettled and where it goes. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees vets applicants and sends referrals to the State Department, and the UN, those UN referrals are priority run. We can also open the doors to refugees who are fleeing wars, like some people in Iraq, or for family reunification considerations. But the UN referrals are priority one. U.S. VOLAGs meet weekly to decide where in the U.S. the refugees will be placed. And this is based on a federal law. They have authority through this federal law to do this, and there's nothing state and local agencies or governments can do about it.
Well, actually, they can. They can exert their constitutional right and say, we control this stuff, you shall not. We will not accept it.
You're absolutely right. And in circumstances where they do that, where there, for example, is a public meeting and the citizens come out and voice their outrage and say, we're not going to stand for this, the VOLAGs and their refugees shrink back into the dark and they go to a less unfriendly neighborhood to try again. But the law, at least, allows them to do that, and most municipalities throw their hands up and say they can't do anything about it. You're right that they could, but most don't.
And then that's why they're so secretive about the placement process?
Well, I suppose that's why. They're secret about it, so we don't really know why they're secret about it. But yeah, they are extremely secretive about it. They make it very difficult to find out how many people are coming, where they're being placed, and they want to avoid any kind of confrontation at all costs.
Yeah, it's basically cowardice. If the state and municipal organizations actually grew a spine, the municipal organizations would rightfully appeal to the state and the state legislature and say, this is unconstitutional. They cannot impose this on us. Will you stop it?
Well, true, except that in a lot of cases the state governments perfectly happy with it, especially those governments run, I'm sorry to say, by Democrats. They won't do a thing to stop it. And unfortunately, all too few Republicans try.
Yeah, it's sad. As I say, we've allowed the country to degenerate pretty far when the federal government thinks it can kick everybody around.
Right.
And so let me ask you, you said that they are deciding where these people are placed. Are they deciding based on, I don't know, a climate similar to what they have back home, ready access to jobs, something to get them integrated, or are they picking somewhere where they can buy a few votes?
Well, I have been looking at that suggestion that they're placing people where they can, boost their voting rolls, and that may well be true. What I've found in most cases, though, is where they're putting people is where there's plenty of access and plenty of existing infrastructure for social services. Maine has very generous welfare provisions, or did. Governor LePage is trying to reel that in a little bit, and he deserves a lot of credit for that, and he's getting endless amounts of trouble for it from the Democrats. But yes, they look for those cities where there's a strong welfare infrastructure and in a lot of cases where there's already a pre-existing population of the type of refugees they're trying to resettle.
Perfect. So, in other words, if we want to drive Bill de Blasio into total bankruptcy, we just take advantage of his better nature and resettle them all there.
All right, Jim, we're going to take a
Great plan.
We're going to take a quick 60-second break. Stay on the line. We will be right back after I do this. Okay.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
Raw Talk.